Well, let's go to the news and see how many yards O.J. Simpson has gained running for his rent-a-car. President Ford is, I'm happy to report, if you didn't know, is in good health now, and he's back at his office with a full schedule. And the other day, in honor of the nation, he went down and placed a wreath on the tomb of the unknown economic policy. That's what President did. It wasn't a particular funny thing he did, but he hasn't got the greatest sense of humor. You know who's in the nation's capital right now? Egyptian President Sadat. And our president is very generous. He agreed to help President Sadat by giving him $1 billion in economic aid. And when Mayor Beam of New York heard that, he put on a burnous and ran into the Oval Office yelling, "Alms for Allah! Alms for Allah!" New York. Apparently, to get the $1 billion, Egyptian Premier Sadat is pretty clever. He convinced President Ford that the pyramids would look much better with aluminum siding. Actually, I'll tell you the reason Sadat is really here. He wants to be introduced from the audience on the Howard Cosell show. Now, here's something that is rather serious, and you will probably giggle at it. But,
let's hope so.
What?
Let's hope so.
No, because it is a rather serious note. On the health scene, Los Angeles is suffering from an infestation of fruit flies. Fruit flies have invaded Los Angeles. Now, it's a Mediterranean fruit fly, and it poses terrible problems. Not only that, but Police Chief Davis resigned when he heard that. Oh, the lady over here says, "Oh, I get that one." This is not an IQ test. These are... We don't have much time for you to sit and dope these jokes out. But Governor Brown said that California was prepared for the invasion of fruit flies. He has ordered up the National Guard station at Farmers Market with anti-ballistic melons. You know, there could be violence. I went by a sporting goods shop today and saw an avocado buying a handgun. Avocados have the right to bear arms. Now, you see, here's the problem with the fruit flies, if you don't know what the problem is. No, this could be very serious because they could wipe out... Well, wait a second, I'm trying to do our little bit for our state here. These fruit flies are dangerous, and they want to get rid of them. But the regular insecticides do not work. So here is their plan. What they're going to try to do is to get the fruit flies, the female fruit flies, to mate with sterile fruit flies. And in that way, they will have no offspring. Now you ask, I can imagine, how do they get those female fruit flies to mate with those sterile fruit flies? Well, the sterile fruit flies tell them that they'll respect them in the morning. Okay. Well, let's go to the television season and see what... Another television show got the axe. This has not been the most skyrocketing season for television. A show called Beacon Hill was dropped by CBS. Now, that is a show, if you have not seen it, it's the story of the Boston rich and their servants. And that was canceled. Now, what happened? It happened without warning. It seems that Mr. Lassiter was in bed with the upstairs maid. Mrs. Lassiter was down in bed with the downstairs butler. And while they were doing it to each other, the network did it to them. I think the servants in the family heard about the cancellation first because the family members asked the butler when dinner would be ready, and the butler said, "As soon as you can get your tail over to McDonald's." So I think they knew it in the show. Well, let's see what else happened. You know whose birthday it is today? I'll bet you don't know. Anybody? Whose? The gentleman right there with the glasses. That's true. It is our producer, Fred DeCordova's birthday today. Happy birthday, Fred.
Happy birthday.
And I thought it was clever of you to put Janet in the audience to yell that out. Don't miss a trick, do you? No.
Could you tell him about the cake that the staff gave him?
No, it's the only cake with an X rating I have seen. That cake is going to be rated. It was a... What?
Deep cake.
Deep cake. Yes, it was. Along with Fred's birthday, there's another birthday. The Statue of Liberty is 89 years old today. And in New York, they held a big celebration for the Statue of Liberty on the 89th birthday. And instead of a bonfire, in order to conserve, energy, they didn't use candles at all. What they did, they just burned up 89 Big Mac bonds. That's what they did. I think it was your birthday hurt the rhythm here. Here's an interesting item. This is the year of the women, right? Women's organizations are trying to get things going. The Girl Scouts finally have agreed to accept Boy Scouts into their organization. That's absolutely true. Yes. What? They voted it down.
All right,
They voted that down. That's the latest report. We like to bring you the late breaking news here on the show. And even though I had a joke about it, the joke has been voted. By a vote of our audience, the joke has been voted down. But let's say if they accept it.
Yeah, that's it. If they change their mind, what?
What?
If they change their mind and accept them.
Well, it's too late now.
Try it.
What?
Let's you try it.
Well, boys, an interesting experiment. Boys and girls together, I can see a little Girl Scout running into her camp leader and said, "He broke my cookies." Well, that could happen. That's true, because they sell those cookies all year round. And out on the trail together, to build a fire, they could rub Murray and Shirley together. Anyway, you were probably right. They didn't let them in. Tonight, we have on the show, Mr. Robert Blake is with us tonight. Very funny comedian, Kelly Monteith is here. We have a columnist by the name of Tom Braden, who has written a fascinating book called 8 is Enough. I think you will enjoy it very much. A gentleman I have not met that you probably do not know. His name is Albert Weber, and he has a very unusual occupation, and we thought you might like to hear about it tonight. We won't even tell you what it is. And do we have something else?
Well, that's it.
What?
Old Web, a visitor.
Oh, do we have a visitor?
A dear, sweet, old visitor.
Oh, this will be a nice night for her, so we'll be with you. We'll be right back.
Thank you, Doc. One of our favorite people is back with us tonight. Like many of the senior citizens, she's going back to college to prove that age is no barrier to learning, and it's never too late to grow and improve your mind. Would you welcome, please, dear, sweet, lovable, old Aunt Blabby.
Trying to help you up the steps.
Stagehand tried to get me just as I
Really?
came out.
Trying to help.
Awful people.
You're looking so good.
Oh, hi. It's great to see you. It's a great feeling to be alive.
Yes.
I wish I had that feeling.
It's good to see you again, too, Aunt
Thank
Blabby.
you, bless you.
How have you been?
Fit as a fiddle and ready for love. I can't wait for someone to bust my strings.
Aunt Blabby, I understand that you went back to college.
Oh, yes, I wanted to improve my mind. It's too late for my body.
No.
But the mind, you can
No.
always improve.
There's nothing wrong with your body.
It's easy for you to say you're not in it. You ought to see it from in here. A mess.
Many women today are studying to be doctors and
Are
lawyers.
they?
Yes.
Oh.
Do you have any specific goal in mind?
Yes, living until graduation. That's my goal.
So you eventually want to get a sheepskin?
Why not? It's better than the skin I've got. Wrinkles. College is a wonderful thing. It's a great feeling to walk down the street and see people point and say, there goes a Ph.D.
A Ph.D., a doctor of philosophy.
No, a preparation H dame. Keeps me going.
Aunt Blabby,
Yes?
it's interesting that you decided to go back to college and continue your education.
Well, it's not only interesting, it's necessary to this sketch. If we don't set that up, we got nothing. I was always a good student. You know
yes?
that?
Yes.
In high school, I completed a course in history in just 2 weeks.
2 weeks? How did you do that?
That's all the history there was when I was in high school. 2 weeks. Yes. That was a long time ago, you see.
Yes. Aunt Blabby, just what are you majoring in?
Minors. I matriculate every chance I get.
What are the subjects you are taking?
Chemistry.
Chemistry. Why chemistry?
Well, I want to find out the formula that'll prevent leg cramps in the back seat of a car. The government hasn't done enough on that.
I see.
They haven't done enough for this sketch either.
What?
But they should work on that. Somebody should work on something so we can get rolling here.
What other subjects are you studying?
Archaeology.
Oh, you search for relics of bygone civilizations and cultures. So far, have you uncovered any ancient skeletons?
Only my first 3 husbands.
I didn't know you were married 3 times.
Well, I'm old-fashioned, you see. I don't put out without a license. You gotta have the paper for a group. I ain't easy.
And Blabby, archaeology requires a massive amount of research.
Don't say massive to an old person. Those are words we don't like. I find biology to be an interesting subject.
You find biology...
You mind if I sit down?
You find...
I want to rest during this.
You find biology interesting?
I find it more than interesting. I learned some things about monkeys that are well worth trying.
Oh?
Did you know that monkey glands can improve your sex life?
Is that a fact?
Yes, that's why they won't give them up without a fight. You never heard such hoopering and hollering.
Hoopering?
Hoopering.
You must do a lot of studying. How are you doing?
Not bad. I just passed 6 subjects and 3 kidney stones.
Aunt Blabby, has college changed much since you first went there?
What?
Has college changed much since you first went there?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yes, when I first went to college, the big fad on campus. You guess what it was?
I think I know.
What?
The goldfish? Was...
You know. Swallowing goldfish.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, that was big.
But students today are more serious-minded than that. They don't go around swallowing strange things like goldfish.
Oh, I don't know. The other day, Earl Butts made a speech on campus. And if you can swallow that, you can swallow anything.
Aunt Blabby, when you first went to college, were you a Phi Beta Kappa?
No, I always took precautions.
What do you like best about campus life these days?
What?
What do you like best about campus life these days?
The co-ed restrooms.
Co-ed restroom?
Well, when everybody's wearing jeans, who knows the difference?
Many students...
If they ain't there, don't wait.
I thought there might be a...
No,
I didn't want to jump the lamp.
You didn't know. You didn't.
I didn't jump it.
You'll know when to jump.
When students go to college and become involved in protest groups, they succumb to...
Don't say succumb to an old person. I'm glad you brought that up, Lard Lips. You know, we senior citizens had a protest rally just the other day.
What was the purpose of your demonstration?
To legalize prunes on campus. If they catch you with more than 1 ounce of prunes, you'd better get F. Lee Bailey.
What did
Jump quick.
What did the senior citizens...
Now you jump.
What did the senior citizens do?
We formed a circle around the faculty building.
Did you lock arms?
We didn't have to. Our arms were already locked. You know how that is. You've been stiffing a few joints yourself, haven't you? Yeah. Did you get them for me? Okay, now we're back on rhythm.
You said you surrounded the faculty building?
You're alert. That's what I said.
What else did you do to protest?
Well, after an hour of shouting prune power, we all leaned over and soaked our dentures in the giant fountain. We called it a gum in. Then they called out the National Guard. They showed up and hosed us down with Haley's M.O.
And Blabby, in view of today's economy, how can you afford the high tuition?
What do you mean?
Well, you have no visible means of support.
I've got the support hose on. If my garter ever snaps, my neck is going to do a swan dive into my shoes. I could get on a Howard Cosell show with that. They had that dumb whale on Saturday.
I guess you'll be
Put
looking...
a dumb whale on a show. Say it's live. Who cares?
I guess you'll be looking forward to midterm recess. When does your first term expire?
Don't say expire to an old lady.
Aunt Blabby, is it true there's lots of drugs on campus?
That's wrong. The strongest thing I ever saw the students using was an O. Henry candy bar. You ever have one of those?
No.
Awfully tough to keep lit. Man, I speak out like Betty Ford, you see. I'm liberal.
Are you involved in all of these social activities on campus?
I was asked to be a cheerleader once.
Because you look good in a sweater?
No, because I can do a lot of things with a baton they've never heard of.
I wonder, Aunt Blabby, if you could demonstrate one of your school cheers.
I don't see why not. I'm covered by the Auto Club. Here's a cheer. It was made up just for me. Give me an E, give me a J, give me an R, give me an X, give me a P, give me a G, give me a zoo, give me a Q, give me a B.
Wait a minute. Give you a J, an R, an X, a P, a zoo, a Z, a Q, and a B?
You got it, you got it.
Oh, what is that? That doesn't spell anything.
Nothing. It's an eye test at my doctor's, dummy. Look, I gotta run. Oh, baby, 2, 3, 4. Look, I gotta run. I don't want to be late for the panty raid.
Wait a minute, you're going to a panty raid?
Yes, and I hope it's mine. Oh.
After we pause for this brief intermission, we'll be right back.
We're back. All right. Tonight we have happy birthday to you, Fred.
Happy birthday, Fred.
Our Freddie's birthday. Tonight we have Robert Blake, Kelly Monteith, Tom Braden, and Albert. Albert Weber, you're going to meet right now. We try to bring you things in good taste occasionally on the show. Tonight we thought we would bring you something in good smell. Albert Weber works for the Food and Drug Administration in Brooklyn. His official title is Chemist, Analytical Organoleptic Specialist, Seafood. Now, this is true. This is not a put-on or anything like that. Well, his job is to smell fish for the government and say whether it's fit to eat or not. This is not a joke. This is not an actor. This is a gentleman who has this job. We thought it would be fascinating. Would you welcome Mr. Albert Weber? How are you, Mr. Weber?
I'm feeling fine.
Yeah, usually when I would introduce somebody like that, I'm sure the audience would think we're going to come out with a professional actor and make believe it's not but this is a real job you have, isn't it?
It's a real job.
Did I pronounce that right?
That's right.
Analytical Organoleptic
That's right.
Specialist Seafood.
That's right. All it means is using your senses to do your analytical work.
Yeah. Why does the government need somebody to smell fish?
Well, it's the easiest and quickest way to determine if any seafood, or any food for most cases, is decomposed or if it's not.
Oh, I see.
Chemical means where you do have them are slow and cumbersome and takes time.
So the human
Nose beats them all.
Yeah. How did you get into this job?
Well, I was working for the Food and Drug as a chemist, and part of the work was to, sometimes you was called upon to smell the fish. And one day when I was there just a short time, the regular fish smellers were out, and I was pressed into service.
The head smeller was out of business.
Well, he was out of town.
I was out of town.
So I was pressed into it, and I'll never forget it because it was a real stinking sample. Nobody, when I got onto public transportation, nobody would sit next to me. They'd sit down and get up, get home, walk in the house. My wife says, "My God, what were you doing? You stink. Take off your clothes and take a shower." That was my first experience smelling.
I never thought about that. Would be a hazard, wouldn't it? If you've been around fish all day. What do? You change now before you go home? I mean.
Well, I either change or I generally get home now before my wife so I can get the stink clothes off.
Yeah. Does this require a certain trained nose? I mean, can anybody learn to do this? Or if anybody wanted to learn to do this?
Anybody with a good sense of smell can do the work, and all they have to do is to be trained to interpret what they smell. Mm-hmm. Because not all stink odors are decomposition. Because there's plenty of stinks, but it has nothing to do with decomposition.
You have a very involved technical vocabulary in this job. That's still the best word. To say something is odoriferous is ridiculous, isn't it? If something stinks, it stinks.
Well, that's what I say.
Yeah.
I say I smell, but the fish stinks.
That's right. People smell. Well, I guess people could stink, but not as much as
Well, I do stink when I get through some days.
All right. We have to take a short break, but we're going to come back and follow up how you do this. And somebody says they've arranged a little demonstration of something. I don't think it's around here yet, is it? Unless the cake is going bad. So we'll take a short break, and we'll be right back with Mr. Webber. Robert Blake will join us shortly, and we have Tom Braden and Kelly Monteith. Right now we're talking with Albert Weber, who is, I guess, fish smeller, to make a short title for the city of Brooklyn, right?
That's good.
Now, let me ask you this. Are there any side effects to this job? I mean, does it dull your senses after a while?
Oh, well, sure. You can't be smelling all day without what I call a nose break. And
without a nose break?
Yes, you just stop smelling whatever you're smelling and get out of the room and either do something else or just go out and get some fresh air.
Yeah.
Because
are there certain foods that you can't eat that would interfere with?
Well, the foods, no, not eating foods. But if someone's working with you, you got to be careful what you have on your line of cosmetics. You can't use aftershave lotion because it won't bother you, but it'll bother the person next to you. I don't like anybody to come in smoking in the room I'm working because that just makes the job that much harder.
Right.
And anyway, smoke annoys me.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I've got mine. I've got mine out over here. You got a point there.
But I'm not working.
Now, what are you doing out here in Los Angeles? Is this a vacation or is this official? Or
no,
did you come out here to smell our city? Or
No, we came out here to make some authentic packs. And at the kindness of the Fish King processors, they gave us facilities and supplying us with good fresh shrimp, which we are, I say we because here in the audience who are my co-workers, we have Dick Strawn from Seattle, who's the West Coast expert. And we have Frank Allhands from Washington, who's also an expert, and then with Ed Losowitz.
Yeah.
And we're making these authentic packs to late next month to conduct international fish smoke. No, we take the fresh shrimp, and that's classified as Class 1. And by definition, it's a good commercial quality. And then as it starts to decompose, we call it Class 2.
And what do you do with that bad stuff?
Well, with the bad stuff, if it's within the tolerances, we pass it. If it's outside the tolerances, if it's an import, it's detained, and the importer can destroy it or ship it back to the country or bring it within the...
that must be wonderful when it gets back to the country if it's already...
Well, it comes in frozen.
Oh, I see.
You see, most of this decomposition takes place between the time catching and freezing. If they mishandle it, don't keep enough ice or refrigeration...
That's when fish generally goes bad, huh?
Yes. So it takes, you can keep a fish just slightly iced for 2 weeks before it starts to decompose, but then it goes very fast.
Now, we have a couple of samples here, and I don't exactly know what they are.
Well,
can you tell us? Of course, our television audience at home won't be able to appreciate this because we don't have...
folks like wine with your dinner?
No.
No, we have two samples of shrimp here.
Here, this you don't have to worry about this one.
Oh.
This is good, fresh shrimp.
I would have guessed.
It's Class 1.
I would have guessed that this was Going bad?
No, not necessarily.
Because it's a different color.
You can't go by color. You have to go by odor. And all you have to do to see if it's good or bad, just break into the flesh, give it a little short sniff,
Right.
and that's a good shrimp, and that's a good odor. If I eat shrimp, I would eat those. Now this is class 3.
Class 3.
You see the change in the color. These.
You wouldn't even have to come out from Brooklyn to say that was... You could smell that in Brooklyn. Whoa, wow.
Surprisingly, we get samples of shrimp that smells that bad and worse.
Really? You don't have to break one of those, though, to know.
No, those you don't have to break.
Now, that's what do you call a class 3?
That's a class 3.
What do you do with those? You get the scent, get rid of them?
They go down the sewer.
Whew.
There's no way to use those.
Does your nose get used to smelling something that foul?
That's the kind that makes you sick. And there's... just by smelling at times.
You could smell it. Did you ever get ill on a job? I mean...
I have some allergies from decomposed products, particularly frogs' legs. I also have to take some antihistamines before I smell them. These I can't smell too long before I get headaches.
No, I can.
Although
I think that could be.
We also examine decomposed tuna, and in that case, if you have some real bad stuff, my hands break all and rash it, and I get terrific headaches.
Well, that's a tough job, but it's an important job, and one that has to be done.
It's a job that has to be done. It's a job I don't like to do, but how can you if you smell that stink all day?
That's right. Somebody's got to smell those things. And Albert, I thank you for being here. You're a nice gentleman, and I wish you well. And how many more years are you going to do this?
Well, I'm retired, but they rehired me for 1 year extension.
Don't let them give you a golden carp at the end of it. Albert, thanks for being
Oh, boy.
What won't you be ordering as an appetizer tonight?
You know, you can have a can of right guard here, and a little white flag would come out if you press the button.
Boy, pungent is the word.
No, that's not. No, that's
pungent.
not pungent.
That's
That's. You wouldn't have to be. I mean, the man's an expert, but I mean, you could bring a gorilla in, and he would know. He would know that ain't a good fish. Does that set you free in the nostrils? You folks couldn't smell it out there, could you? You're very lucky.
Just as well.
All right, we'll be right back after this brief commercial break. Okay, we are back, and good friend of mine. I admire him tremendously. He's a super actor. Won an Emmy this year. He's the star of his own show, Beretta. Would you welcome Robert Blake? You dyed your T-shirt, huh?
Yeah. Now, they dressed me all up there, right? That's all you gotta do is have a little clothes in this world and you're home free. That's it.
Studio's checking your wardrobe now when you make these appearances.
Yeah.
They want you to look
Yeah.
decent.
I'm so tired, man. My brain is a bag of bananas.
You want to go back and get on that horse and say, "Hey, Red"?
No.
Okay, I want to get that in perspective real fast.
No.
This sounds better already, doesn't it?
What the hell is the matter around here?
You got a great spot, huh? Following it. Well, you should have been... No, come on, now, it's gone. You should have been here a moment ago. I want to tell you.
It stinks right now, here in this very spot.
No, it doesn't.
It stinks. It's true. And I took a shower and put clean clothes on and everything.
How'd you
Show
like that
business
job?
is my life.
You've had-
Following a rotten fish.
You've had some dumb jobs in your life, right?
Yeah? Oh, I've had all kinds of jobs in my life, man. Any kind of job. I've been a gorilla most of my days. I think I could have been a brain surgeon, but I didn't have much education. I could have been.
I want to be a doctor, too, one time.
Did you really?
Yeah, I really did.
Wouldn't that be cool just to have somebody come in and just say, "I'll save you. It's all right. Don't worry, whatever's wrong with you, just sit right down there and I'll take care of everything."
No, it's just that I like golf.
You what?
I just like golf. That's why I want to be a doctor. Care anything about
golf.
that. Yeah, golf. You know.
Golf. You play golf?
I used to. I quit.
Yeah.
I quit.
I don't do that much.
What do you work out a lot? I know. You keep in shape.
Yeah, that's right.
Health foods?
That's jailhouse exercises I do. You shoot pool, lift weights, play ping pong, all the stuff they got in the rec room in the joint.
So you don't go outside much, huh?
No, I go outside, but not to do any of them whippy things. No.
Did you go through the?
I go out to the dirt.
Did you go through the health food stuff? With
Yeah.
Got the soybeans and the.
I eat a lot of health food, and I take a lot of vitamins to counteract an incredible amount of garbage that I eat.
Yeah.
I load up on chili dogs and soft drinks and poisons of various or sundry sorts.
Aren't they great, though?
Assaulting my body.
Aren't they great when you're in
They're
the mood
no
for
good
it?
for you, so I counteract it by taking all that other stuff, as a result of which I eat all the time.
How you been? What's new in your life? I see.
Let's
I
see,
see
where
a lot
am
of
I?
I never thought I'd see the day you'd be doing Hollywood squares.
Well, I'll tell you.
'Cause you were kind of
Very
anti-establishment and so forth, and all of a sudden I see you up there saying Robert Blake in square number 6.
My whole life in school, I was a dummy. And the first IQ test I had was a 85. And
But that
that's,
doesn't mean anything.
that's when they give you a banana and a spare tire to play with.
And say, don't chase the cars.
That's right. He's getting out of line. Hose down his cage, cool him out. Man, that's
See,
right.
that really doesn't. Those IQ tests, as you know, and probably
No.
do, are not reliable.
It took me 1,100 years to learn that because when I was in the Army, strange thing happened. I took a test, and they asked me if I wanted to go to OCS. And I said, what's that? Because I didn't know a 2 from a L, from a 9, from nothing. But they said, well, you passed very high here because it was a different kind of test. It was a test about logic and how you use your mind
Right.
rather than who was the president in 1806 and what did he do on Tuesday, because I never learned none of that in school. Nothing. I didn't learn nothing.
IQ tests are only valid in a particular area in which people would navigate.
You
They're
have
outside
to
of their
research
environment.
the subject entirely before you give them the test.
Right.
Because if somebody has not gone through any kind of scholastic environment, you can't give them a test about the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
I don't know what holiday's coming up now. I never know what holiday's coming up, man. The 4th of what and what does it mean and who cares? That's, because I never learned none of that stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, I took the OCS test.
Christmas is on the 25th.
Yeah.
Just thought
Yeah.
You know that.
And then when I was in therapy, after I've been in therapy for about 4 years, that's where you go and you talk to somebody and they talk back to you. I took an IQ test just to find out for myself if I really truly was a dummy, which was a big step because my whole thing in therapy was to keep telling the guy that I'm a fool and I don't know nothing and I'm a dummy. And I ranked up way into 0.1% of the population and all that kind of jive.
Well, you see?
See, you keep changing out. Where were we? How we get to this IQ
I
test,
don't
man?
know.
You wanted to be a doctor and play tennis.
That's where we started, yeah.
What's new? What's new in my world? Ain't nothing new in my world. I work 89 hours a day, man. And I'm a giant success.
Has it made you happier?
Yeah. No? Well, let's see.
I'm serious. Has it made you relatively happier?
Boy, that's a tough question, man. You usually ask funny ones.
All right, are you funnier? Since you've had all the success.
No,
you
I'm
know what
so
I mean. That's a
tired.
dumb question.
I'll tell you, I'm not particularly happier, but everything, like, see, my family is a lot happier, and that makes me happy.
Yeah.
Because they know that I'm working and everything is cool, and we do a few things like that, like I bought a fence to put around my house so nobody could bother me. That's a very big deal to me. A lot of people don't care about a fence, but all of a sudden, I like having a fence. Because 6 o'clock in the morning, some drunk come walking up and say, hey, you guys rather playing the and I just don't like that. So I got that. I got a watchdog. He's cool, man.
Is he trained?
He's nuts. He belongs in the Blake household. That guy's bananas. Let's see, I got him when he was 8 weeks old.
What kind?
A Siberian Husky. On account of my wife
Siberian
from Russia.
Husky?
Yeah, he's a great dog. He's about 16 weeks old now. And his whole life, since I known him, and we got to be friends, he eats socks. That's his big bag. Man.
Socks?
He eats socks. He whips around the house finding socks. The guy eats anything. He took a can, you know, with the food in it.
Yeah.
And he ripped it open with his mouth to get the
Ripped
food
open
out.
the can.
Yeah. So he eats socks.
You sure you don't have a small pony? What is it?
No.
How big do they
I
get?
don't know whether he barfs them up or digests them. I never find him no place.
How big does a Siberian Husky get?
I don't know. You know, they get big. They get like like a big dog. I want them to scare people away so I don't have to shoot them when they come bother me. He ate Sandra's, you know, what's them things that come up here, the stockings?
Pantyhose.
Right. He ate them. And I caught him.
Was Sandra in them at the time?
I caught him when there was nothing but the 2 feet sticking out of his mouth. And I grabbed him, and I was starting to pull him out, but he started gagging like he was going to barf or check out or something, so I let him go, and he went, yerp, and disappeared down the street.
Eat a pair of pantyhose?
Yeah. He did.
You got a strange dog there.
That's good, man. And just imagine one of them freak comes around the house. The dog, by the time I get to the freak, all it'll be is 2 feet coming out of the dog's mouth, right?
Wouldn't it be great? Just teach the dog to come out with 2 feet sticking out. We're going to take a short
We'll come
break.
right back.
Certainly we will.
When Robert gets himself together.
That's right. We're going to have another session here on the couch. We are back. You were dozing off here during the commercial.
Yeah.
What time do you get up? When do you go to rehearsal?
What? We don't rehearse.
You don't rehearse, just go.
No, you folks in the live telly rehearse.
What do you mean? We show up here.
We get up at 5 bells and report downtown to 5th in Los Angeles. Man, I was rolling around the other day in so much puke and stuff like, you know, down there, it's a whole other world.
Yeah.
You forget what some of them folks go through and where they have to go to the John and who's got to work in it and all like that. Anyway, that goes on until about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and then you go home, and that's success, folks. That's the big leagues.
You had a birthday, didn't you, a week or so ago?
Yes. Oh, I had a wondrous birthday. I hate birthdays, man. I don't like birthdays.
Didn't you have a cake and all that?
No, I refuse to go through any of that stuff. It panics me out.
Why?
Well, because I never got anything that I wanted for my birthday. Christmas, stuff like that comes along, and oh, a robe. Oh, gee, that's wonderful. Gee, I really always wanted a robe. Oh, my goodness, some new pants that I could wear to school. Isn't that terrific? You know, they use an excuse to buy you stuff that they're going to have to buy you anyway to keep you going around.
Like a pair of socks.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's wonderful. 8 new socks for my birthday.
It could be worse. It could be 7.
And then, you see, what you have to do is you got to act like you love it.
Right.
Ah, gee whiz, Ma, you really came through this time. That's terrific. Does anybody ever get anything they want for their birthday? I don't think so, man.
Why? What did you want?
I wanted a new train, man. I want something cool. I want a pack... something like... something I could be somebody.
Something that keeps on giving.
Yeah. You see some kid down the street that got a new Boy Scout knife.
Yeah. Did you ever
Hey,
get a
you
Boy
know,
Scout
that's
knife?
fascinating. I have a collection of knives, and I never realized why. But it's because when I was a kid, I always wanted to get a pocket knife.
With all those things on it?
Yeah, with
the
all
damn
them
things never worked.
ace
I got
things.
one. You're lucky you never
I'd have
got
just
one.
opened it up and put it next to my head when I went to sleep and looked at it. It would have been cool to have one. It
Yeah,
was
they had a
disappointment
screwdriver,
to
they had
you.
a can opener, they had a compass, they
all
had
those things. All those things that the white kids had, man. Just wonderful toys and gadgets you could play with. And I'm sitting there with something that I had to... So anyway, I don't like birthdays. What I'm going to do someday is I'm going to give myself a birthday. And I'm going to get drunk and have a cake. And I'm going to buy everything that I ever wanted to have when I was a kid. One for each year of my life. I'm going to get a bicycle. I never had a bicycle either. I sound like I'm a little juiced, but I ain't had nothing to drink. I'm just tired. Once I found a bicycle.
Found a bicycle? Where did you find this bicycle? And the chain, I suppose, that went with it, huh? I can see you find it. What do you mean you found the bicycle?
It was a girl's bicycle. And I took that bicycle, and I rode it, and I rode it, and I rode it. But I always kept riding it fast, man, because I was afraid if I slowed down, somebody'd get a look at it.
A hot bicycle.
I kept it in a vacant lot down at the corner in the grass. And in the wintertime, you know, the grass grows tall in the vacant lots. You could hide anything in it. I always had fantasies about having a girl and taking her out to a vacant lot where there was grass.
And just hide her for the winter, you mean?
No, I'd be there with her.
Oh, I see.
We'd be laying down in the grass and nobody could see us in the whole world, just laying in the grass.
Didn't you ever do that?
No, I didn't do that. I had that bike in the grass.
It's not the same.
Did you do that?
Not the same.
That's how
I had a girl in Nebraska, a 10-speed girl. Used to go out in the cornfields, you see, in the cornfields on the fall.
That's how come you got the courage to sit here every night. You know who you are on account of you had a girl out in the green grass in the wintertime. That would be ace. That was terrific. I used to go out and lay in that grass and roll around. There was rotten beer cans that would tear at you and all
And no
stuff
girl?
like that. No,
well, that's
never
tough.
had no girl. There was Nancy down the block, but she could run faster than I could. We'd play hide and go seek.
Well,
And I just, one thing in my
that
life.
sounds normal.
If Nancy would have only tripped, I would have been all up over her, quick like a flash.
Well, that's not the way you play hide and seek, you know.
I didn't know.
Nobody's playing the rules.
No, I never went to public school. I didn't know what the hell they were doing, man.
I'm going to throw you a birthday party, your next birthday.
No, don't do it, John.
Really?
They'll wipe me right out.
Oh, what
From
do
the
we-
ground floor up. Yeah, they was going to throw me a party on the set. You know, where I do
You said-
Petrocelli.
Oh, come on.
I said no, I wouldn't go for it. Just pass on it.
Really?
Be cool.
Well,
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it, 'cause
A lot of things it takes a long time to get past. I don't ever admit that I'm healthy, you see. I just go along with what I'm doing. Like the other day, I told a very good friend of mine, I said, don't kiss my wife. I don't like nobody to kiss my wife.
Oh, you mean at parties and stuff?
Any place, I don't care.
I just brought it up. I wasn't going to do it.
I don't care if it's her brother come in from Guatemala after 20 years. I don't want nobody putting their hands on my wife.
Well, you don't
and
own
I know
her, you
it's
know.
sick.
You don't
I know
own her.
I know that. I'm probably one of the great women's libbers of all time. I want them to take over, man. We made such a mess. I don't want them to have equal. I want them to do it. And we'll lay back and see how they do.
See how it goes.
Right. But when it comes to anybody,
No kissing.
it just panics me right out, man. Now, it's wrong, and ain't nothing I can do about it. But if my best friend said, "Oh, Sandra, it's so nice to see you. Let me just give you a little here," I twitch, man. I'm going to break some part of his body.
That's the part of your choice, huh?
That's just right. Because I'm just...
I know what you mean. I hate that at parties
I'm
where
not
everybody
well.
is.
I don't like nobody to kiss me.
You're
you know,
safe.
you go
You're
to
safe.
a party and shake hands. Oh, Robert, so nice to
And
see
they-
you. And they kiss you.
What do you do?
Well, what I want to do is just grab them and just stick my tongue down their mouth. See? Then they won't do it no more. Especially if it's
That would teach me a lesson, yeah.
We'll take a brief pause. We'll be right back. Beat me to the punchline.
Kelly Monteith is with us tonight. He is, Thank you, Doc. Kelly's a very amusing young gentleman. He grew up in St. Louis. He made his first appearance with us, I think, about 2 years on the show, and it's fun to watch his continued growth. He'll be opening tomorrow night at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas with Bobby Gentry, and the 13th of November up at Harrah's Arena with Connie Stevens. Would you welcome Kelly Monteith? Kelly?
Thank you for that nice welcome. How are you all? My name is Kelly Monteith. I usually repeat my name when I come on stage. Actually, the main reason I do that is just to kind of assert my identity a little bit. Because that's the one drawback I find to traveling, is a tendency to lose your identity on the road, you know. Because I'm never in one place for a length of time, and most of the people I run into, they really don't know me as an individual. They just identify me with their work. Like I stay in hotels, and a maid will see me in a hall. And to a hotel maid, I'm not Kelly Monteith. I'm a room number. That's how she'll identify me. Aren't you 1214? What? You're 1214, aren't you? Oh, yeah, that's me, 1214. That's why I have this terrible fear now of dying in a hotel and being buried as a room number. See that on my tombstone someplace.
Here lies 1214. Sanitize for your protection.
It's the same in restaurants, because I eat out all the time. You know, and waitresses, they don't know me as Kelly Monteith. To a waitress, I'm a food order. Because that's how waitresses identify people. We probably had them do that, too. You've been in a coffee shop or something, they come up to the table. Veal Parmesan? Liver and onions? And people at the table do the same thing. They go, no, I'm liver and onions. This is veal Parmesan. And this is chopsteak, and that's tomato surprise. Every time I do TV, I know there's some waitress in Alabama watching me going, oh, I know him. That's scrambled eggs, bacon, and no grits. So I guess we are what we eat in that sense. Actually, I think most of what I am really stems back to my childhood. Because, I've traced so many of my little idiosyncrasies back then. I have a tendency to be a germ freak. Now, I'm not obsessed about germs. I don't boil things before I use them. But I'm always concerned about them. I never could figure out why. And then I realized, I remember when I was a kid, adults and parents and teachers were always coming down on me about germs. You come in from outside, okay, run in, wash your hands. Why? Well, you've touched things. There's germs on your fingers. You've touched things. You don't know where they've been. Well, I was in the jungle gym. I hasn't left the playground in 14 years. Well, other people touch it. You don't know where they've been. Now run, wash your hands. Did you go to the bathroom? Yes. Did you wash your hands? No. Why not? I know where it's been. That never worked. Get back in there and wash your hands. There's germs on your fingers. Germs, this constant emphasis on germs. Now, being a germ freak as an adult, that's kind of difficult to handle, Because I'll be at a party or something talking to somebody, and all of a sudden, during the course of their conversation, I'll feel this drop of saliva land on my cheek. Now, from all that early training about germs, my first impulse is to go, ah! But I can't do something like that in a social situation, so I got to stand there and just grit my teeth and let it evaporate. Oh, I could brush it off real cool, but I'd give it away because I'd want to look at it, you see. Because we always look at what we get off our bodies, but we're always so curious as to what is there, we got to check everything out and examine it and study it. What the hell are we looking for, anyway? Oh, maybe I'll know it when I see it, Maybe someday I'll go, what in God? Well, for crying out loud. I haven't seen that since the 5th grade. Just little habits that we all have. Man, so much of my day-to-day existence is consumed by habits. Things that I do, things I say. Greeting people, that's habitual. Hi, how are you? That usually gets the same answer. Fine, how are you? Fine, thank you. Now, you know something? That exchange has said so much that people don't even hear what you say. You can say anything to them. Hi, how are you? Up your nose. Fine, thank you. Because they're not listening. We respond automatically. Thank you. That's a perfect example. How many times a day you hear those two words? Thank you. How many times a day do you say them? Thank you. You can't thank somebody without being thanked back. Thank you. Thank you, too. Thanks a lot. Thank you much. Thank you very much. Thank you now. Never could understand that one, as opposed, I guess, to thank you later. Gets ridiculous. I found myself thanking people for thanking me. Hey, got your thank you note. Thank you. And they'll throw it back at me. Oh, don't thank me. Thank you. I hate to pay a check at a restaurant anymore. I go through an orgy of thank yous with the cashier. Enjoy your meal, sir. Oh, yes, thank you. It's very good. Well, thank you. Here's your change now. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome. Have a nice day. Well, thanks. You too. Well, thank you. And then I'll walk out a door, and it says, thank you. You see, it's automatic. People say without even thinking, you're fired. Thank you. We just say because we were taught to say it. It was drilled into us to say thank you. You didn't say thank you, well, say pardon me. Say excuse me. Pardon me, excuse me. Those are two more all day long. Pardon me, excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. Oh, I'm sorry. Thought you were talking to me. Pardon me. I've excused myself to walls. Excuse me. Oh, it's a wall. Pardon me. I've had people step on my foot, crush all my toes, and I'll say, excuse me. Huh? Oh, excuse me. Thank you, thank you. And then I'll go home and I'll be all by myself and I'll burp. Excuse me. Then when I realize I'm alone, I go, sorry. Sorry? What am I sorry for? It's just a guilt response, because I feel guilty about things like that. Actually, I feel guilty about a lot of things that I have really no reason to feel guilty about. Passing a hitchhiker is a perfect example. I'll feel so guilty about that, especially if the guy glares at me when I go by, Gives her one of these shots. Now, I'll feel so guilty about passing him that I'll make excuses in sign language. I'm turning at the next corner. Then I'll look in the mirror and I'll see him give me his reply. Thank you, too. It's just that early training is just so powerful, and yet the government has no faith in it. It's really weird, because every one of us here, one thing we were taught was how to cross the street. I mean, that was just pounded into our heads. Don't you cross when there's traffic. Look both ways. When it's clear, then you go. Drilled into our minds. Now, how much faith does the government have in that training? I'll go up to any busy intersection. There'll be traffic just roaring by. And I look across the street, and there's that little sign. Don't walk. Well, I know I'm not supposed to walk. I mean, I was taught that. I'd be a suicidal idiot to step off the curb. Then when all the cars stop, I look up, and the sign says, walk. Well, I know it's time to walk. Obviously, I can see there's nothing going by now. I mean, they don't give us any credit for having any sense. And they must also think we're gazelles. I'll step off the curb, and I'll walk about 6 steps, look up, and the sign has changed back to don't walk. I mean, that's ridiculous. If they're going to put a sign up, be practical. Put up one that said, this is a short light, so run your buns off.
I'm afraid to say thank you.
I am too.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Yeah, it was very nice.
Don't thank
Thank
me,
you. It's true, it's
It's in
conditioning.
you.
I used to have, when we go on trips, there are certain people who read signs. You ever not? For some reason, they're driving down the highway, and they just read anything.
Oh, I do all that.
Holiday Inn, 14, anything that's there, they read them out loud.
Oh, I do that. I
Like
did
nobody
that.
else sees them or hears them.
I used to drive on the road by myself all the time. Used to read them. I still follow them.
Yeah.
Like the walk, don't walk thing, which is really silly. I've been on corners, there'd be nobody around, no traffic, and it says don't walk, so I don't. I stand there. Another thing, the one bugs me is the button on the light standards.
When you want to cross, you're supposed to...
Press button for green light. Now, for years, I pressed that button. I never thought anything about it. And then one day, I pressed it, and I didn't press it, and I timed it both ways, and it doesn't make the light change any faster. I don't know what it's there for.
And
I
it
think just to
doesn't-
relieve your frustration.
Yeah, it doesn't come on anyway. You know what bothers me? You ever stand waiting for an elevator, and there are 2 or 3 people there, and you press the button, and the guy standing right next to you will always walk over and press it again, which intimates that you are stupid, you didn't press it, your press wasn't good enough, I press it better. It happens every time. And then another person comes up, and they see 2 people, and he goes up and he presses the button again.
I do that, too. I call that ego assertion.
That's right.
Just
It's my turn to press the button. Yeah.
The worst is when you're on the elevator and the doors are starting to close and somebody's rushing toward the elevator and you can never find that open door button. It's always like, oh, I'm sorry. I always want to go back down and say, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yes.
It would probably close too quick before they could get on again. You know?
Okay, let me take a break. We're coming right back. Stay where you are. My next guest tonight is Mr. Tom Braden, who's a very successful syndicated columnist. He has written a book. It's a fascinating book because it's about... Oh, you got to run. That's right, Bobby. I told you I was going to... Because you got to go to work tonight. Yes. Downtown L.A.?
Yes.
Thank you, Bobby.
Los Angeles, folks.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
As I was saying, Tom Braden has written a fascinating book. It's the problems that exist between generations, and those of you who have children know the problems that exist. He is, as I said, a syndicated columnist. He's also been a newspaper reporter, a teacher, an intelligence officer, a parachute jumper. And he's written this book about his family. And fascinating. Would you welcome, please, Mr. Tom Braden. Tom? Good to see you again. Well, I remember a book once called Cheaper by the Dozen that they made into a movie, which was somebody who had about a dozen children. But 8 is enough, right?
8 is enough.
Yeah. When did you realize 8 is enough?
Well, because I had 8 problems, and then I realized that I was the 9th. I think if you have 8 children, you have 9 problems.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's say yourself, because you have a lot to worry about with 8 children.
When, what are the age? What's the age span in a kid?
Well, they run from 23 to 10.
23 to 10.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. You say in the book that you spend almost as much time playing the father role as most people do with their jobs, which is usually not the case.
Oh, I think it is the case.
Really?
Don't you spend a lot of time in being a father?
Yeah, even though my kids are grown up and out of the house, there's the old saying, isn't it? Little children, little problems, big children, big problems.
Yeah, correct. You know, it gets to be 3 o'clock in the morning, and you keep, you know, you're trying to sleep, and you have a job to do the next morning, but you keep saying to yourself, I wonder where she is.
Oh, see, I didn't have the problem. I have all boys.
Oh, well, I have 5 girls, and that's the difference.
Ah.
Fathers worry an awful lot about girls.
You know why they do? Because they remember when they were young.
Uh-huh. Exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And then, you know, you go up to the bedroom to kiss your daughter goodnight, and maybe there's somebody there.
See, now, when we grew up, I don't think I would ever, that would never cross my mind to say I'm going to have a girl in my room in the house.
Well, this is a new thing.
Yeah. That must be difficult to cope with.
It's tough for a father. It's maybe all right for them.
Yeah. Now, when your daughters got to be a dating age, did you want to know and meet the young man before you went out and have a little chat before you came downstairs? Your daughter came downstairs and all of
Yeah,
all
I did all that. I did all that.
Things.
I want to tell you what happened to me. I did all of that, and then one day he brought a girl home from college for the weekend, and
it's your son now.
Yes, that's right. And Joan and I went up and fixed up a room up in the attic because we didn't have any extra rooms, and I wanted to make sure that she had a room. So we made the bed and we fixed it up. We put flowers, and then when the girl left 2 days later, I said goodbye to her, and I said, "Thank you very much." I mean,
thank you.
Yeah. And I said, I hope you had a nice time up in the room. And she said, thank you, Mr. Braden, but the bed was a little small for 2.
And?
Well, there is no and. I looked at Joan, and and she looked at me, and we closed the door, and I said to Joan, well, you know, at least we made it possible. Propriety was reserved.
You see, now, what do you say when you have children that age? Do you say, hey, it's my house and you are not to stay in that room with a girl? Or under the more liberal mores, I guess, that we live in? It bothers a lot of parents.
Well, it's a tough generational gap because you have a new morality. You know, the pill has made a lot of difference. And actually, this is true. It has. I think that morals tend to follow reason. And reason tells girls that they don't have to have marriage in order to have love and devotion. And we always thought that marriage was synonymous with love and devotion, and they're not so sure it's true. And I think all a father can do is say, well, you know, I don't approve of it. It isn't the way I grew up, but there's some point to it.
Yeah, it's tough. You see, I remember when I grew up, I think the kids nowadays have grown up with a kind of an attitude of thinking that maybe it's because they grew up during a very unpopular war. They went through all of the things in government, you know, and they seem to think that everybody, it's the game, the way to play it.
Yeah, and I think really that the generation that grew up, that sort of my older children's generation, the oldest ones, probably had a tougher time than you and I did. You mentioned the war.
Right.
They had an unpopular war, which we didn't have. They had marijuana, and we never knew about that, and we weren't able to advise them because I wouldn't have known in high school even how to spell marijuana.
Don't you remember going to see a movie called Reefer Madness that played around years? Yeah. It's now kind of a camp movie.
Yeah, but I was in Dubuque, and maybe they didn't show it.
No, not in Dubuque. They wouldn't show that, no. Yeah, that was true, and it was considered, you know, that was the degradation to end all degradation. Now, if your kids, oh, well, I know in the book, you've discussed drugs with your kids. Now, what do you say to them when your kids come home and say, yeah, we've tried some pot? Did they ever say, hey, Dad, would you like to try a little?
My rule is a tough thing for a father because, you know, a father is supposed to encourage obedience to the law, right? And then at 12 o'clock, and you get the phone call, and I always try to take the phone calls because I sort of think that's the father's job. Take those late-night phone calls. They're never good. And, you know, and the voice says, Dad, I'm in jail.
Did that happen?
Yeah, that happened. And it turned out that there was a defective taillight. And after the car was stopped for a defective taillight, why, then begins the big search. And they found some marijuana, and there he is in jail. So the father is faced with this choice between loyalties. You're loyal to the law or you're loyal to your son, and naturally your answer is, hold on, you know, you're not the first guy that was ever in jail, and I'll get on it in the morning. And then you go to his bank account and withdraw whatever he's got. See what you can do about it.
Right. I've been through the same situation. But now I think they are minimizing some of those laws, so at least it's not a criminal offense anymore, and you don't get booked for it. The First Lady came under a little flack because she spoke her mind about what she felt on certain issues in the day, and I thought she showed a lot of courage to do it. And she said the other day, I don't think the fact that you're a president's wife or your husband is in the limelight should prohibit you from speaking out on something that you honestly believe in. I think it took a lot of courage for her to express those views.
I agree with that. I think I was surprised that people acted as though they were surprised, but I don't think they were really surprised. It shows that double standard we have, you know. Same thing we were talking about. We have the law, and then we have the habit, and we know that kids are smoking marijuana, so it seems to me, you know, she faced it.
Right. You had something in your book about when one of your boys, I think, was in college, and then all of a sudden decided that wasn't for him. That always crushes parents in a way when they think, well, I've done this, now I've furnished money for an education, and all of a sudden you find that your child gets in school and doesn't particularly enjoy it and wants to do something else.
Yeah, well, you're never sure whether that's it or whether that's the stage, which I call in the book the animal stage, where that's your bag, Dad. You know, every kid, every boy particularly goes through the stage of, well, that's your bag, Dad. Suits and ties and coats and vests, that's your bag, and college.
So in anything that is really their own identity, or they think is their own identity, they're going to do just the opposite.
They have to rebel against us.
Yeah, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
What did you do when one of them said, hey, I want to change my lifestyle?
Oh, I had a hippie for a while. He's no longer a hippie. I had a rule in our family. What we did with the animal stage was awful tough. I hated to do it, but I just cut off the money supply.
Chào các mọi người. Và hôm nay bên em lại về một chiếc xe Hyundai Accent sản xuất 2020, bản 1.4 số sàn, xe bản đủ. Con này thì cũng đã độ la răng, nói chung là cũng dán rất là nhiều cái, độ rất là nhiều thứ đấy. Và rất tiếc cho em nó là em nó cũng đã bị bơi lội rồi mọi người nhé. Cách đây tầm 5 tháng trước thì cả cái dãy này bị bơi lội hết. Đấy, vì vậy là sẽ có một mức giá rất là ưu đãi cho mọi người. Bây giờ em sẽ quay tổng thể chiếc xe. La răng con này độ của xe ô tô. Đấy. Tay nắm cửa mạ chrome và dán những cái gọi là chống mở đóng cửa nó được nhẹ nhàng, nó chống xước, chống ồn, cũng như là xi nhan gương đã mạ chrome này. Đấy. Nói chung là đã ốp chrome rất là nhiều, dán sport. Đấy, Accent, con này là Accent thôi nhưng mà nhìn rất là chất, cam nùi đầy đủ, mọi thứ của em nó được full option. Đấy, kể cả là cái lắp bình xăng cũng rất là chất, được dán VIP, dán VIP ấy. Dán rất là nhiều, nhưng thực ra thì khi mà nó bị bơi lội rồi thì tất cả mọi thứ đều là thừa thãi. Đèn này nó là đèn bi và giải đèn nét, mặt cá năng đã gọi là dán những cái gọi là cũng đã độ nhưng mà rất là chán. Tôi không thích, tôi thích nguyên bản cho nó chất chứ quan trọng gì mà cái vớ vẩn này. Nội thất bên trong này các bạn có thể thấy rằng là vô lăng này đã được bọc, cần số đã được bọc, da ghế được bọc, phanh tay cơ độ đi mới đi rồi, màn hình Android, tích hợp cam nôi, treo rất tinh dầu, mọi thứ, da ghế bên đằng sau rất là đẹp, điều hòa sau. Tổng thể con xe này thì nói chung là ok, độ rất là nhiều. Cẩn thận nhưng cũng không thể bằng ông trời được. Ông trời mà cho ngập thì chỉ có bơi thôi. Đấy. Nói chung là rất là cẩn thận. Xe này thì nói chung là xước xác va quẹt thì gần như không có đâu. Kể cả sơn xi rất là mới nhá, 99%. Mỗi một tội là em nó đã bị bung, đã bị toang vì là bơi lội thôi các bạn nhé. Con này nói chung là để mà tôi đánh giá là rất là đẹp. Tuy nhiên máy móc đã bị bung vì bơi lội. Bơi thì con này bơi mấy tiếng thôi, hơn 2 tiếng. Bơi xong rồi gọi cứu hộ đến, sau đó thì về là xử lý. Tuy nhiên là các bạn biết rồi đấy, tuy là thế nào thì khi nó ngập đến hệ thống điện thì vào đến các bao mạch điện tử thì chúng ta biết rồi, chắc chắn là sẽ bị toang. Nói chung là xe để mà tôi đánh giá là con này sơn xí rất là đẹp. Thật sự với các bạn, nếu mà để nhìn tinh ra thì may ra thì có vết xước, còn đâu đấy nhìn qua này thì không nhìn được ra vết xước luôn đó. Còn đương nhiên là về nội thất bên trong thì cũng hơi bị ngập, thì đương nhiên là sẽ phải xử lý cái vấn đề mùi rồi. Thì bây giờ đã không còn mùi nữa. Còn đâu đương nhiên là các bạn là hệ thống điện thì bên em đã phải xử lý rồi, thì không thể nào mà còn nguyên bản với lại còn không động chạm gì được mọi người nhá. Tuy nhiên khi mà chúng ta bơi lội ít thì xử lý rất là dễ. Và với một chiếc xe như này, bên em ra bán một mức giá là 249 triệu. Thật sự với các bạn thì đây cũng là một mức giá ok, không rẻ không đắt. Còn đối với những chiếc xe mà nguyên bản thì chắc chắn là phải trên 300 hoặc có thể gần 400. Nhưng con này số sàn mà lại bị lỗi thì là 349 triệu. Ai mua liên hệ sớm với em. Xin chào.
you.